Sauce Gardner.
Sauce Gardner is a New York Jet!
Swaggy Sauce Gardner.
I love Sauce. I love his tape. I love his press technique. I love his confidence. He has everything you want to see in the position. And I think Robert Sala in this scheme is perfect. It's a hand-in-glove fit for him, man.
Garrett Wilson.
It's Garrett Wilson! The New York Jets have just got two big-time playmakers!
I believe that Garrett Wilson is going to be the most impactful rookie receiver in this class. And I think we see Zach Wilson play like he did the last 6 games of the year, times 10, and have a phenomenal second season.
Wow, you think? Yeah! Yeah! Let's Jermaine Johnson!
Brees Hall, running back, Iowa State.
Brees Hall, oh my God, they got him! They went offense. They went with the best running back in the draft. Jeremy Rucker, oh my God! The Long Island native is a New York Jet! J-E-T-S, Jet! Let's go! Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to another Jets Media live stream. And today, I want to break down why Robert Sala's decision of starting Mike White last week and for the foreseeable future was indeed the correct decision for the New York Jets this season. Because there's a lot of people talking about this move, whether it's they've ruined Zach Wilson, is it the right move, is it the wrong move? I think we can all sit here and agree that starting Mike White over Zach Wilson against the Chicago Bears was smart, and Mike White still got to prove himself to show that Robert Sala's decision was indeed the right move. And we're going to be breaking down Mike White as a quarterback in this stream. We're going to be hearing from Jack. He's going to be joining in just a bit as well. I want to really break down Mike White because I feel like he has an opportunity here to prove to be the Jets quarterback for the rest of the season, and if not for the future. I mean, there's no reason why Mike White can't do that. Just because Zach Wilson was indeed the second overall pick does not mean that Mike White cannot prove to be the guy. Now, I think we can all agree as well that Mike White has to show that he can be a consistent quarterback. And I feel like we need to understand that this offense needs to show some consistency around Mike White. How about that Dan Orlovsky take on Zach Wilson in the intro? Yeah, every time I watch my intro, I'm like, yeah, I think it might be time to make a new intro because it's a little outdated, right? It is just a little outdated. Fresh tunes in, left Jake Asman show for you, Richie Rich. You're growing on me. Hey, good looks, my guy, Fresh. I appreciate you, my man. I appreciate you, my man. Shout out to Jake Asman. He does a great job, of course. So in this video, guys, we're going to be breaking down why Mike White is he's a really good quarterback, and there's no sugarcoating it, guys. Mike White's a damn good quarterback, and it's kind of crazy because I broke down the film yesterday on the channel, and I came away with it just blown away of the processing and how quickly and how decisive and how good Mike White looked. And if you guys want to check out my breakdown yesterday, please do, because I was really moved by Mike White. And to quote Robert Sala, he made the easy look easy. And again, it was against a bad Chicago Bears team, but at the end of the day, Mike White, not only is he helping out this team win right now, but he's also helping the development of the young players around him, such as Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, the tight end position, Denzel Mims, Corey Davis. All the guys on this offense deserves the ball in their hands. So I'm really excited to break this all down. Before we do that, we're going to hear a quick word from the sponsor of this video, which is indeed Mojo. And I just want to show you guys what Mojo sent me real quick. Look how fire this is. They sent me a custom Mojo jersey. And no, I did not pick number 5 because of Mike White. Number 5 happens to be my favorite number. Look at the back. I don't know if you can see it. That's my last name, Melora. So shout out to Mojo for sending me this custom jersey. Melora is my last name. Number 5 is my favorite number. And it's kind of wild because this jersey came in right before the Bears game. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Mike White starts, number 5 jersey's in. Pretty wild stuff, right? Pretty wild stuff. So let's get into the Mojo stock report, because Mojo, as you guys are aware, is a sports stock market that allows you to invest in your New York Jets. And if there is a player that you got to invest in, it's Mike White. I mean, it's that simple, because it's so cheap right now at $3.90. I mean, it's a bargain. It's an absolute bargain. Invest in Mike White while you can, because if he goes up against the Minnesota Vikings and tears it up, it's going to go up to $7 minimum. And you can make some easy money right now if you simply click the link down below in the description, download Mojo, or scan the QR code on the screen and download Mojo. Because if you can invest in Mike White at $3.90 a share, you're going to win some guap. And you want to talk about Garrett Wilson. He's trending up. He finally has a quarterback that knows how to get him the ball in space when he's open. And by the way, he's open a lot. So Garrett Wilson at $14.81 as a rookie is really awesome. Elijah Moore is finally trending up on the market. It's about damn time Elijah Moore is getting the ball, and he's happy, and he's feeling like he is a part of the reason why the Jets are winning. He's at $11.59. Even the tight end duo of the Jets are trending up, and they're pretty cheap at $3 a piece. Now, these two players are trending down, the two running backs for the Jets, because James Robinson was inactive. Carter went down with an injury. Unfortunately, they do not have Bam Knight on the market. Otherwise, I'd really invest in him. Ty Johnson's not on it either. But these two players are trending down, and that tells you Bam Knight's trending up. Bam Knight is a player that's the hot commodity on the waiver wire in fantasy football, by the way, which is pretty cool. But just if you believe that Mike White is indeed the quarterback for this team for the rest of the season, you better invest in Mike White. Put your money where your mouth is. If you live in New Jersey, download the app, invest in it. Even if you not live in New Jersey, still download the app, because there's a lot of features on here that gives you really good inside information on what's going on around the league. So shout out to Mojo for sponsoring the video. And I cannot wait to break down what's going on in this crazy game coming up against the Minnesota Vikings. I happened to be a guest on a Vikings YouTube channel this morning, and he interviewed me as a Vikings fan, and it was cool to hear from them. The Vikings have a really awesome fan base. They're very respectful. They praise the Jets. They are not going into this game thinking it's going to be easy. And I feel like this is a really big opportunity for the New York Jets to really make a statement. And they've made plenty of statements this year, and it is an NFC opponent. So say we do lose this game, it's not the end of the world in terms of tie-breaking opportunities, but we are at the stage of the season where every single win matters 10 times, because we currently have a playoff spot. All it takes is a loss and a Patriots win, and we're back out of the playoffs. So the Jets got to take care of business and get this job done. So we got to make sure that we take care of business. Drop the link. It's on the community tab, Fresh. I'll look for it real quick. I posted it on my community tab, so you guys can check it out. But here, let me find it real quick so you guys can find it yourselves. So yeah, I was on a Vikings YouTube channel, and I feel like we all together should feel a sense of calmness heading into this game, because what we have in store for us is an organization that's making the right decisions. And that's kind of where I want this live stream to go. I want to talk about Robert Sala, because I feel like his move was such a big one, to the point where, like, it either way, it's going to go one way or the other, right? Like, if this is a bad move, then he's going to be looked at as, not the right answer and all these things and blah, 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 blah. But the fact that he made this move and it panned out that well, that early, we'll see what the rest is in store. So I just put the link in the live chat for the Vikings YouTuber. And make sure you guys check that out, because I had a really good conversation with him, and he had cool questions to ask me. Do you think Saleh made the right decision? If Mike White pulls off a win against the Vikings, is Zach toast? Listen, Robert Sala is not putting Zach Wilson back in the game unless Mike White either stinks it up or gets injured. It's that simple. This is Mike White's job to lose. Mike White deserves an opportunity. The New York Jets elevated Mike White to quarterback number 2 a couple weeks ago because of the stuff that he's been doing behind the scenes. And It's so simple of what this Jets team needs from the quarterback position. Like, we don't need a Superman. We don't need someone to put the team on their back to put up 250, 300 yards a game to win. We don't need that. We need a quarterback that can make the right decisions, protect the football, move the sticks, and don't put so much strain on our defense. And that's literally what Mike White did. Now, of course, we have to realize that we need to see Mike White do this on a consistent basis. We saw Mike White start 3 games last year. The first game was the miraculous Bengals game. The second game, he looked fantastic on the first drive, but unfortunately goes down with an injury. His third game was against the Buffalo Bills. And if you look back at that Buffalo Bills game, I know that the stats are awful, but if you watch the game, first of all, the Jets as a team was trash last year. There was no help around him. Defensively, there was no help. Offensively, there was not a lot of playmakers. And the Jets went down really early in that game against the Buffalo Bills. So Mike White had to play from behind, and he had to start being a gunslinger, and he had to try to, go vertical and pass it and force it, which resulted in 4 interceptions. Now, it's not me making an excuse for Mike White, but the reality was last year in that game, we had the worst defense in the league and not a lot of playmakers around Mike White. Well, that's not the case anymore, guys. Mike White has a top defense in the league to help him out, to keep us in every single game. And we have a running attack that's really deep at the running back position. We have receivers that can get open and make plays after the catch, like Garrett Wilson just did, and Elijah Moore even did. We got tight ends. We got an offensive line. I mean, bro, we have everything. So all we need from Mike White is to be calm, cool, collected, be decisive, and do everything he did against the Bears. Now, if Zach Wilson has to not play for the rest of the year, and Mike White leads us to the playoffs, and say we win a playoff game and we lose in the divisional round or something like that, and Mike White plays well, then that's where we're going to have a very interesting conversation in the offseason, because Mike White is an unrestricted free agent, by the way. So if we want to re-sign him, we're going to have to pay him a lot of money if he does play well. And then we still have Zach Wilson on the roster. So what are we going to do? We're going to make Zach Wilson the backup behind Mike White. Are they going to go into training camp by bringing Mike White back and having Zach Wilson and Mike White compete? Or are we going to go out there and try to get a completely different quarterback for next year, like a Jimmy Garoppolo or Aaron Rodgers? Or I don't even want to talk about next season, but that's really where this Jets team is at in terms of the quarterback position. And when it comes to Robert Sala's decision, I feel like it really speaks volumes of who he is as a head coach, because we went into the season as a Jets fan base really hoping that we can figure out who Robert Sala is. And there's a lot of question marks around him. Is Robert Sala a guy that's going to be too nice? Is he going to be, not hold his players accountable? Well, I think all those questions have been answered, in my opinion. So that's why I feel like I got so much confidence in Robert Sala. I mean, you saw the mic'd up that the Jets posted. If you guys did not, make sure you do so, because Robert Sala is on the sideline. You hear everything he's saying. He's hyping up his players. He's like everything I ever wanted in a New York Jets head coach, to be honest. So I'm really excited that the Jets finally have someone in charge of this organization that I have 110% faith in. And it's only year number 2. We have someone that handles these situations, because we also have to realize that last week when Robert Sala made this move, it was not an easy thing to do, bro. It was not an easy thing to do. He easily could have said, no, we're sticking with Zach Wilson. And I don't care that he's playing like crap right now. We invested a 2nd overall pick in him. I don't care that the locker room's upset at him, but we believe in Zach Wilson and we're going to figure this out. Instead, he's like, nah, what Zach Wilson's doing is unacceptable on the field. We're asking him to do the bare minimum, and he can't even do that. He needs a reset. He needs a fundamental reset. And to be honest with you guys, I don't know if a reset's going to be able to happen in a season. That's something that you got to work on in the offseason, right? That's something that you got to work on in the offseason. And I can admit, right, I'm not perfect. I've been supporting Zach Wilson. I said that there's no way that Robert Sala is going to bench Zach Wilson for Mike White. And I was completely wrong. And I'm a man that can absolutely take accountability and be humbled by my wrong take on that. Because at that time, I heard Robert Sala say over and over again, Zach is our quarterback. Zach is going to start no matter what. The furthest thing away from his mind is benching Zach Wilson. So I heard Saleh say that, and I'm just listening what the coach had to say. But then Robert Sala, which is the best part about him, in my opinion, he's not stubborn. He's not a stubborn head coach that sticks to his mindset. He can adapt on the fly. He can learn from his mistakes. He can stick to a narrative that he has in his mind, but then watches the film and says, okay, I got to backtrack a little bit. I have my own job to save. I got my coaching staff's jobs to save, and I got players that are trying to make these damn playoffs. Zach Wilson simply is not the guy. And right now, at least. And I know there's a lot of questions out there about did the Jets ruin Zach Wilson for the long term in his career? Listen, bro, this is a move that you have to make in the now. The Jets have not made the playoffs since 2010, the longest playoff drought out of anybody in the NFL. So Robert Sala understands how much it would mean to this fan base and this organization to simply get to the playoffs. And he's looking at Zach Wilson, and he's like, this can't happen. Zach Wilson's 5-2. And those 2 losses came from the same team, the Patriots. And the 5 wins, Zach Wilson wasn't really a big reason for it, right? You can say Zach Wilson's best game, in my opinion, was probably his 2 best games, the Steelers in the 4th quarter and the Buffalo Bills game. And even in those games, he didn't really, do that much, right? So my point here is when you have a quarterback behind Zach Wilson who is young, right? And when I say young, I mean young in the game. He's 27 years old. That's not that young. But at the end of the day, he's only started 4 career games. So he's young in the NFL. That has proper fundamentals, that can spread the ball around. Because what Joe Douglas did in the offseason to build around the quarterback, guys, is phenomenal. And when you have a quarterback like Zach Wilson, who is fixated on his number 1 read and number 2 read, you're not spreading the ball around. Why do you think Elijah Moore was so upset and demanded a freaking trade? It's because Zach Wilson does not scan the field and cannot spread the ball around. I don't think Elijah Moore is expecting him to get all the targets, but he wants to be part of it. And we saw Mike White in the first half spread the ball around to 10 different receivers. That's mind-boggling. Not even throughout the full game, guys. 1 half of football, Mike White completed a pass to all 3 of his running backs, both tight ends, and all 5 wide receivers. That is unbelievable. That is spreading the ball around, and that's why the Jets made this move. Because what Joe Douglas did in the offseason to build around this quarterback with the playmakers is unbelievable, and they all deserve to get the ball in their hands at some point in the game. Now, we're not expecting Mike White to do 10 complete passes to 10 different receivers every single game, but what it shows you is that Mike White can scan the field and do the basic stuff. I mean, we have a defense here, ladies and gentlemen, that is so freaking good that we just need competent average quarterback play to win. And who knows? Why can't we think that Mike White can be the franchise quarterback? I know a lot of people are throwing around the Kurt Warner comparison because Kurt Warner has a kind of similar story in terms of he started off his career when he was 28 years old and all those things. And he came in there at a certain time and give me a Kurt Warner, bro. I don't care that he's 27. I'm all in. I'm all in on Mike White. I really am. And I'm someone that can eat my own words. And I just want to make it known that when I was defending Zach Wilson throughout his terrible play, that had nothing to do with Mike White as a quarterback. It was me just like trying to instill some positive vibes around our struggling young quarterback. That's all it was. That's all that was. Because I know that you guys watched me defend Zach Wilson, and a lot of people were like, Richie, stop defending Zach Wilson. He's trash. He's trash. And yeah, you guys were right. Zach Wilson is bad. And that's a fact now. And I was someone that was like, okay, Zach, can you figure this out? I mean, he had a nightmare against the Patriots. He goes against the Buffalo Bills and beats them, not because of him, but he played turnover-free football and, outplayed Josh Allen. but it's not like he did anything crazy in that game. And then he goes against the Patriots, and he did what he did for the second time, and that's where it's like, okay, Zach, we feel like Mike White has all the traits to be able to execute this offense properly. Your ass is going to the bench. And if Mike, and the crazy thing about this, the timing of it's kind of interesting because you also got to give Zach Wilson some benefit of the doubt because he went through a defensive gauntlet when he was playing. And now you throw Mike White in, and he's going up against the easy defenses. Chicago Bears, Vikings have the worst pass ranking defense. I mean, he's going to have to go against the Bills, which is a great defense. But the point is, Mike White's taking advantage of his opportunity. And if Mike White's the quarterback for the rest of the year and he leads us to the playoffs, I think that he has a chance to be the long-term answer for the New York Jets. But at the end of the day, guys, we also have to realize that we cannot get ahead of ourselves. We have to be a fan base that stays within ourselves because Robert Sala's mantra, Robert Sala is trying to keep this team humbled. You can't get too high on wins, can't get too low on losses. So us as a fan base kind of has to consider that. Okay, Mike White looked phenomenal against the Bears, but we cannot crown that man as the future until he shows that he can be consistent. So that's my TED Talk. Everybody hit that like button, please. My holy king reminds everybody. Only 25 likes. Are you kidding me? Smash that like button, everybody. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. And now we're going to get to a guest of the show. You guys know him well. His name is Jack. What up, Jack?
What up? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. You know, we're talking some Jets. We're talking why Robert Sala made the right decision in starting Mike White.
Absolutely did.
Yeah, man. So let's get your thoughts right there. I mean, that's the title.
100%. Yeah, I think Robert Sala, a tough decision to make. Probably the toughest decision you could make as a second-year head coach. Clearly it's a decision that paid off. It's a decision that had to happen. Still a very, surprising one to me, at least after his initial statement saying that, that was the furthest thing from his mind at that point. But yeah, man, ultimately, it had to happen and it worked out. I wonder if we'd still be saying it had to happen if we had somehow lost that game, though. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's a bunch of hypotheticals that we're talking about. But it paid off with a dominant victory. So right now we're hyped. Right now we're on the Mike White train. And let's hope it doesn't absolutely derail. But right now it feels pretty good. Definitely feels like Robert Sala made the right decision.
Yeah, and this decision was not an easy one. I mean, when you're in the New York market and you're a football team, and at the time you were 6-4, and you feel a sense of the locker room breaking, and you feel a sense of the team just kind of losing their will, and it was a really big opportunity for Robert Sala to send a message to the organization that we're not messing around, man. I don't care if you're the quarterback or a corner or an edge or a running back. If you're not doing your job at this point of the season when we're in the playoff hunt, your ass is going to the bench. And that's exactly what we saw. And that also sent a message to the team that, yes, we are developing this team for the long run, but we're trying to do something today. We're trying to do something in this season, because if Robert Sala said, you know what, we're going to roll with Zach Wilson. He struggled against the Patriots. We still believe in him. We still think he's going to figure it out. I know that he's struggling fundamentally, but we think he's going to be fine. That kind of sends a message to the team like, wow, I mean, they're really just selling this season just for the future of this organization, where we're sitting here in a playoff hunt. And we know that Zach Wilson had to apologize to the team and do all those things externally because he became, the face of hate around the NFL because of his comments. But I just cannot give Robert Sala enough credit, because it feels like we have a grown man in charge. I watched his mic'd up. He looked awesome on the sidelines. I watched every single press conference, and I'm just moved by Robert Sala's words every single time. I mean, we've been waiting for somebody to be someone that can handle the pressure of the New York Jets head coach. Because, Jack, how many times have we as an organization been in a situation where it's just not an easy one to handle? And Robert Sala, every single time a situation arises that feels like a toxic, feels like a bad situation, such as the Elijah Moore trade request, the Denzel Mims trade request, the Zach Wilson benching, it just like Robert Sala keeps proving to me, outside of his coaching ability on the field, but the way he handles himself in the media, is that we got the right guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally a believer in Robert Sala. I was since day one. Obviously, we did not have a good season last year, and we're in the middle of a good season this year. And the turnaround that this team has made within this past offseason, and the first half now heading into the now that we're in the second half of this year. It's amazing the transformation that we've seen in a year. So if we win this game, we have we double our win total from last season, and then have a few more winnable games still left on the docket. So shout out to Robert Sala for sure, man. He's regarding the quarterback decision, like I said, very difficult decision for any head coach to make. He nailed that. He's gotten, how many young and inexperienced players are playing at a super, super high level right now. Him and the rest of his coaching staff have really whipped these guys into shape. And the defense, man, just speaking about the defense in particular, going from, worst to first, we're witnessing it right here. So it's just, you got to give the credit where it's due, and it's definitely due to Robert Sala. It's due to Joe Douglas as well. And maybe even, this never really happens, but maybe we have to give a little credit to ownership as well for, making what we feel like right now is the right decision with a head coach for once. When's the last time we felt super, super confident in a New York Jets head coach like we do right now? 10 years ago plus with Rex Ryan.
And another thing about the ownership, I'm happy you brought them up. I think they deserve a lot of credit for the reason of they are taking a complete backseat. They're allowing Joe Douglas and Sala to be the decision makers. The Johnsons have no input anymore at all. I mean,
that's how it should be.
And that's how it should have been from the beginning. And that's been the issue with the owners. They tried to, plug their nose into situations when they shouldn't. And there was a cool Woody Johnson situation during the draft where Douglas kind of asked Woody, you okay with us trading up for Jermaine? And he's like, are you okay with it? And Douglas is like, yeah. He's like, then do it. So it's kind of like Woody is doing his job as the owner of allowing Douglas and Saleh to do their jobs. And that's how it should have been from the beginning. So you got to give credit where credit's due. We don't have the perfect owners in the world. I know that obviously a lot of people have a lot of things against them for the right reasons. But at the end of the day, they're doing a great job. So Jack, when it comes to Mike White, obviously we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here because he's only played one game this year. And it was a phenomenal game. But when it comes to his performance against the Chicago Bears, and if you look back at his games last year against the Cincinnati Bengals, and then his first drive against the Colts, which was elite until he went down with an injury, and then his game against the Buffalo Bills. And if you look into that game, Jack, I did a lot of research on that game. You got to put into consideration in his 4 interception game against the Buffalo Bills last year, I said this earlier on the stream before you came on, is first of all, the Jets were a completely different team last year. They were trash. Worst defense in the league, did not have the playmakers they have now on offense, first year head coach and everything. And they went up against the Buffalo Bills, who was, a very good defense at the time. And if you go back and watch that game, Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, was destroying our defense. So we went down early, very fast. And Mike White, we were down like 24-3. And Mike White had to just become the savior. Throw the ball vertically, force it. And that's not the system. We're not supposed to force it down the field, which resulted in Mike White having 4 interceptions, also him coming off an injury. So we're hopeful that 4 interception game was a fluke. And we heard from Mike White himself, and he said that I learned a lot from that Buffalo Bills game. I felt like I was trying to do too much, and that won't happen again. He said that confidently. He's like, that will never happen again. So what's your thoughts of Mike White? What traits does he have that really gets you excited, and what do you want to see him improve on to really prove that he could be a consistent quarterback? Because I think that's the only thing Jets fans are, worried about is Mike White. Can he be consistent week by week?
Yeah, that's definitely, the thing that's in the back of my head. But I think he can. I think he has all the confidence that he needs to, be the leader of this offense. And, the traits that I absolutely love from Mike White. Number one, I think, is his patience in the pocket and not abandoning the pocket and standing tall and making the throws that he needs to make. And his accuracy from the pocket, fantastic. And obviously we've seen, great games from Mike White, and we've seen a couple of bad games from Mike White. But the great games we have seen from him, he takes care of the football, So when he's on, he's pretty much does all the things you need from your prototypical pocket passer quarterback. The one thing that Zach Wilson definitely does have on Mike White is his escapability and mobility in general. But if the offensive line can show up like they did, against the Bears, and continue to play well and give Mike White time in the pocket, I absolutely love everything he has to offer from that standpoint. And he makes, Saleh said it earlier this week. We've spoke about this quote already on the stream a couple days ago. Saleh said he made the easy things look easy, and a lot of people take that as a slight to Zach Wilson. I don't at all. But when you see Mike White hit the checkdowns on a consistent basis, he doesn't miss a screen pass. He didn't really sail a ball over anyone's head. Definitely there are some instances, and I think this should be mentioned. I think Mike White got away with one when the ball slipped through Eddie Jackson's hands, for sure. So, I think he might've gotten lucky there. Would it have affected the win? I don't think so. We still would have won that game. But even in the win against the Cincinnati Bengals, I believe he had 3 touchdowns and 1 interception that day. Two picks. So yeah, I mean, he can, I guess as long as he can move the ball down the field and score touchdowns, we can't afford, another 4 interception performance from Mike White. But maybe we can afford 1 or 2 with the way our defense is playing, if he backs it up on the touchdown end. But I really like him to take care of the football. He knows that this is probably the best opportunity he's ever been given in his career, right?
He's an unrestricted free agent. So, like, if he
this
leads
is the
Jets
best
to the
opportunity
playoffs,
he's ever been given.
he's going to get paid a lot of money, whether it's by the Jets or not.
100%. So this is the best opportunity he's ever been given in his career. I think that's only going to mean good things for us Jets fans. And I really do have confidence in him to get it done. Because like we keep saying, we don't need a Superman quarterback. If Mike White can move the ball down the field, protect the ball, score points. Listen, guys, we're undefeated when we score 17 or more points. That stat just blows my mind. Hats off to the best defense in football, I think. But if Mike White can do that for us, if Mike White can, lead this offense down the field, 17 points, man, 17 points. He can do that. We've seen it happen. And I definitely do have confidence in him. I like the fact that he spreads the ball around as well. I think that's another huge part that was missing with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson would kind of, look to see if when Corey Davis was healthy, he would look for Corey. Corey wasn't there. He would abandon the pocket, and, who knows what would happen after that. When Corey was out, it was the same thing, but with Garrett Wilson. There was no spreading of the ball. And it was, brutal to watch him miss all these wide open throws. We haven't seen Mike White do that this year at all. So it's the fact of the matter is right now, for what this team needs to do, Mike White is the better option at quarterback.
Yeah, 100%. And I watched the all-22 film yesterday, the whole game. And I just came away just like so blown away, because it is sad that the bar of quarterback play that we're expecting as a Jets fan base, we're like obsessing over fundamental quarterbacking. But like the reality is, like, I was watching that, Jack. There's so many instances where he drops back to pass. He steps into the pocket. His eyes are on Garrett Wilson. It's not there. He scans to his second read. It's not there. He scans to his third read. It's not there. And then checks it down all in one hitch. And it's like, that is like processing. And going into the season, I said what's going to make or break Zach Wilson as the New York Jets franchise quarterback has nothing to do with his physical ability. It's all up here. And that's what Zach is struggling with, reading a defense, knowing the system. And we see Mike White is light years ahead of where Zach Wilson is currently in terms of scanning the field. And I just saw a quarterback in Mike White that is so confident, knows exactly where this ball needs to go, where all of his options are when the ball's in his hands. He knows the ins and outs of the plays. He knows the scheme. He knows there's 4 options, and he knows the first, second, third, or fourth read is there. Like, he's not afraid to take the check down. And the reality is we have so much talent around the quarterback where, like, he can just be a dink and dunk machine all we want, because check it down to Bam Knight. Check it down to Michael Carter. Give it to CJ Uzama in the flat. You know what I mean? It's like, and then we have vertical threats down the field with Garrett Wilson, who is just unbelievable. And hey, Elijah Moore, welcome back. And like, the reality is, Jack, me and you were very upset with Elijah Moore. But like, when you look back on that, it kind of makes sense of why he demanded a trade, because obviously the way he handled the situation, I do not agree with whatsoever. And I really wish he never did it that way. But when you look at it in this perspective of why he, in his eyes, why he did it, he's looking at Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson is a quarterback that just simply does not spread the ball around. And he's relying on 1 or 2 guys, and Elijah Moore is not part of the game plan with Zach Wilson. And you see Mike White go out there, and he completes a pass to 10 different receivers, not throughout the whole game, Jack, but the first half. So you got to, 3 running backs got to catch, 2 tight ends got to catch, all 5 receivers got to catch, all in the first half. So, like, I understand where Elijah Moore is coming from. Maybe the reason why he wanted out is because Zach Wilson, for whatever reason, cannot process things and go through his reads of 1, 2, and 3. And you saw Mike White do just that. So it's a breath of fresh air that we have a quarterback that can actually, handle the pressure. And his pocket awareness as well stood out to me on the tape, Jack, where he steps back into the pocket. There's pressure in his face, but he kind of slides perfectly, and he gets rid of it quickly and takes a hit. He like feels the pressure. It's kind of like, he's a 6'5" pocket passer. That's what he is. He's a prototypical, NFL quarterback. And it's like, I'm watching him on tape yesterday, and I'm like, why can't this guy be the franchise quarterback? He looks like one. Like every single thing, everything he does, I'm like, oh my God, like everything he's doing is like perfect. And we can't get ahead of ourselves. It's one game. But the reality is, what he did against the Bears was so efficient and so beautiful. It's like, why can't Mike White be the guy?
It's an impossible question to answer. It's there's no reason that he can't. He's 26 years old or 27.
27.
Yeah, so he has he's obviously a little bit older than most of these younger quarterbacks that have kind of really put their stamp on the league now, as guys like Rodgers and Brady start to kind of fizzle out, right? But at the same time, he's got some additional experience in the NFL. He's the second year in this Jets offensive scheme. And all the evidence you need is the tape from the last game. He can, sometimes he makes mistakes, but when he's on. And what he did last game, we haven't seen Zach Wilson do anything close to. At any point, maybe the first half of the Patriots game, was that the first Patriots game? First half of the first Patriots game, Zach was rolling
Mike
a little
White
bit.
has 3 touchdown passes in the season. Zach has 4 all year.
So you can't even compare it.
We also have an offense that needs development. We have a rookie in Garrett Wilson who needs to develop. We have a year 2 wide receiver in Elijah Moore that needs to develop. We have Denzel Mims who's getting opportunities that needs to develop. We got running backs. Like, if Zach Wilson can't give them the ball properly, how are they going to develop, Jack? Which is why I feel like the coaches made this decision of like, not only do we need to win, but we need this offensive system. We need Mike LaFleur to develop, because I really think Zach Wilson was holding back Mike LaFleur because he could not do the simple things. And when you're an offensive coordinator and you call a simple screen pass or a simple pass and it's inaccurate, it's incomplete, what more can the offensive coordinator do? So it's like, it kind of feels like Mike White is saving not only, the offense, but helping the development around the offense.
Absolutely. I think it's clear as day. I'm sure you saw the play as well. I forget who tweeted it out there. It might have been Michael Nania. where Zach handed the ball off when everybody else thought it was a pass play,
Well,
and everybody
I'll
was
add you context on that play. So that play, I know exactly what you're talking about. Do you remember the diving Garrett Wilson snag in that game? It was third down, and it was completion to Garrett Wilson, and it was a diving catch, and it could have been incomplete. Well, the Jets went hurry up offense to try to, snap it quickly to avoid them to review it. And since they hurried it up, and that's still no excuse for the quarterback.
Yeah, still a nightmare because
Still an absolute
nobody
nightmare.
was on the same page.
And literally, they ran up to the line of scrimmage. They hiked the ball, and the offensive line literally backpedal into a pass protection.
Yeah,
And the wide receivers are running routes.
So
Zach
that's
Wilson
still on
hands the ball
still
off.
on Zach because
100% on Zach Wilson.
nobody's on the same page there.
100% on Zach Wilson.
So, stuff like that can't happen. I think there's a lot of things that you really got to do some deep digging watching the all 22 to find little things like that and realize just how bad it was with Zach Wilson. And honestly, I think Zach Wilson still has a chance to be a starter in this league. I don't know if it's for the Jets, maybe it's for a shitty team that wants him this offseason.
The Panthers.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe we're just going to keep giving our quarterbacks to the Panthers.
Or what if Zach is the franchise quarterback? I mean, I feel like maybe that even is, I don't even know. Anything is up in the air at this point. And Jack, some players that stood out to me big time on the all 22, like very underrated players that from the broadcast you can't really tell. Connor McGovern was dominant in the run game, like absolutely dominant, as well as Lincoln Tomlinson, as well as Nate Herbig. Max Mitchell was perfect in pass protection. And you know who else is just so awesome to watch them play football together is the tight end duo of CJ Uzama and Tyler Conklin. Bro, there's so many times on film where they're just simply blocking, they dominate, and they look at each other, they're chest bumping each other like, yeah, it's like a 4-yard gain. And they're just like little kids, just like, let's go. It's like we have these two tight ends that we got in free agency that are just doing their jobs. They're selfless. They put the team first. They're not worrying about catches or touchdowns, and they're having so much fun. And that's really cool that we have these two tight ends in Conklin and Uzama that are really good at blocking. And like there were so many times, Jack, where they block so well. Bam Knight gets open for an 8-yard gain, and they're like so hyped up and like chest bumping each other.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome to see. Those guys are just having fun, That's just it's just pure fun. And that it was a fun game. I mean, when's the last time we can say we had, even this year, because there's been, a lot of close contests and just games that going into it were like going into the Packers. Yeah, we ended up winning that game. We were so nervous for that game. Same deal going into the Broncos, Yeah, we won that game, but we were so nervous for those games, because it's games that, yeah, we should be winning, but these are, this is Russell Wilson we're going against. This is Aaron Rodgers we're going against. This is an amazing defense in the Broncos that we're going against. And, it feels like this game against the Bears was just stress-free, at least in the second half. It was beautiful to watch. So we're mentioning, these guys having fun out there. It really did look like it was, the offense was just running at such a high level. It looked like a well-oiled machine. These guys were having a blast, and you can just tell when things are clicking like that, how fun it must be to just go out there and dominate.
And I think a lot of that has to do with Mike White, bro. Like he has this infectious, not only his play style, and him as a quarterback, but him as a leader. That's a big deal for a quarterback. You got to be able to lead guys. And for whatever reason, dude, Mike White has some type of aura about him that has that, like, it's like Zach has swag, but Mike White's swag is completely different style of swag, but it works, right? It's like, it's an inner confidence. It's like an aura about him that's like, I know it needs to be done. It's like business. I'm going to get the job done. I'm a happy guy. He's very genuine. He cares about his teammates. And I don't know, man, this team just feels like it's a lot of fun right now. And you can definitely feel the vibes are very high in the locker room surrounding Mike White doing his job and just being able to execute the offense at a high level. And I just feel like this team right now has a really big opportunity on its belt to make a playoff push. I mean, we're one game ahead of the Patriots. We're in the playoff hunt. We're in the playoffs as we speak. So, like, all we got to do is beat the Vikings, which is not going to be an easy one, by the way, because the Vikings are a really, really good team. But I was going to say something, but I completely lost what I was going to say.
That
which is
happened to me 2 minutes ago, man. Maybe it's just the barometric pressure is off today because it's raining outside. I don't know.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. A cool thing about that Bears game too is it was the first time we were favored by the sports books by a large margin in a while. Like I think we were 7.5 favorites, and I bet money on the Jets to win by more than 7.5 points because I
And
had
oh
that much
boy, did we
confidence.
cover that.
And we covered it. I mean, when is the
We
last time?
smashed it.
When was the last time the Jets were favored in a game by a touchdown or more and covered it? I don't think that's ever happened in my life.
This shows, and
Like,
there's still a lot of people out there that are thinking, oh, it's the Bears, it's the Bears. You know what this shows? This shows that the Jets are a good team that absolutely handed it to a bad team, and that's what good teams are supposed to do. So we did what we had to do against the Bears, and we did it in a fantastic way.
You know who I haven't seen in the chat in a while? Modine. Where's he been? That negative
Just
guy.
as soon as you said that, I bet you he'll appear.
I'm sure he will. I have a lot to say about it.
He's got magical powers.
Hey, sign me up for that. But guys, if you're enjoying the show, please do me a gigantic favor. Hit that like button for your boy. I really do appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning into the chat. We only got 37 likes, so please do me a favor. Hit that like button. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing the flight preview about the Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to get really deep into that game. But Jack, since you're not going to be on that show tomorrow, unless you're welcome to at any time, but I want to get your thoughts about the Minnesota Vikings game on Sunday and how the Jets are going to win the game. Because I was on a Vikings YouTube channel this morning. He had really cool questions for me, and I feel like this game Sunday, in my opinion, if I'm ever going to predict whoever's going to win the game, I think it's going to be like at the last second. I think it's going to be a game-winning field goal. I think it's going to be a game-winning touchdown, or it's going to be a game-winning defensive stop. I feel like the Vikings are a team, and Vikings fans will tell you this. They're 8-2 or 9-2, whatever their record is, but every single game is stressful. They have not had one stress-free win. Every single win for them has went down to the wire. So I feel like the only way the Jets win this game is if it goes down to the wire and they come out on top. I mean, if we blow them out like the Cowboys did, that would be phenomenal, but I feel like that was more of a fluke. So what's your expectations heading into this game? Not really predictions of who's going to win, but like what do the Jets got to do in order to, win this game, and what's your confidence level?
Well, the Jets are going to win.
Oh.
The Jets are going to win. But
nice.
The way the Jets are going to win. 8-4, how you doing? But I think it's going to be a war. It's going to be a bloody battle. Vikings fans are absolutely right. I think they're 9-2. But every single game has gone down to the wire. It feels like I've seen Justin Jefferson make some of the craziest plays I've ever seen in my life this year, just in the last 2 or 3 weeks alone. And I think Kirk Cousins is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in football. I kind of, I see a little bit of Kirk Cousins in Mike White's game. I said that the other day. Just, ability to stand tall in the pocket, not a mobile guy by any means, but is patient in the pocket and reads the routes downfield and delivers a laser beam wherever he needs to. Kirk Cousins is at least this year is playing at a very, very, very high level.
You look at his stats every year; he's putting up numbers.
Absolutely. It's just, can the Vikings win? Can the Vikings make a run? They can never finish the job in the postseason.
I think they're due for a loss Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. But
that's not gonna hurt them. They're like 4 games ahead in their division. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, we know they're gonna score points. This is gonna be a huge test for our defense. This is kind of gonna have a playoff atmosphere to it. Obviously, we're 2 different conferences, so we wouldn't meet until the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying from that perspective,
will happen.
But yeah. But this is this is going to be a good barometer of how this Jets team is going to look in a gritty playoff type game. This is going to have to go down to the fourth quarter, and we have our defense is the best in the fourth quarter. So I really think this is going to be the biggest test we've seen this year for our defense. Maybe even more so than the Buffalo Bills. because, the Vikings find themselves in a position to win every game they've played this year. So our defense has to be the reason that they don't win. Obviously, they're going to score points, like I said. So Mike White has to have another good performance, I'd say. We need the offensive line to do their thing. I think the Vikings have a pretty middle-of-the-road defense, nothing too special. They're not terrible, but they're nothing too special. I think we can.
They're one of the worst against the pass.
I think we can, make some things happen against their
Mac
defense.
Jones looked really good against them.
Yeah, dude. So I think we definitely can make some things happen against their defense. The offensive line needs to do their thing like they did last week against the Bears. And if we give Mike White time in that pocket, I trust him to make the right decisions downfield, spread the ball, make the throws when he needs to make them. And but yeah, I really do think this one is going to come down to defense and maybe even special teams. Maybe this could be one of those 27-24 type games. Who knows? But I do think the Jets can and will win this game. But it's going to be the toughest test yet.
No doubt.
Maybe not tougher than Buffalo at the time, but now we know we ended up winning that game. So this is the new toughest test.
Yeah, and this is such a big
For Sauce
game.
Gardner, I can't believe I didn't mention Sauce Gardner. Just real quick, I mean, this is going to be, Stephon Diggs is an unbelievable player, but like I said, we've all seen Justin Jefferson just do freaky things out there for the last couple weeks. I mean, this entire year in general, but I mean, the last couple weeks have been, it's just highlight after highlight after highlight from Justin Jefferson. So it's going to be Sauce's toughest test by far. DJ Reed's going to be involved in that as well. Adam Thielen's no scrub. The Vikings offense in general is just a very
and don't sleep on TJ Hawkinson
offense. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, the linebackers are going to have their, their share of hopefully not troubles, but they're going to be busy covering the middle of the field.
I actually saw an interesting stat. The NFL posts a preview for every game, and I recommend it. Everybody watch the Jets and Vikings one. Just came out this morning. They give you such great stats, and the Jets have 5 interceptions on defense when they target tight ends. Like whenever an opposing team targets a tight end, we dominate them. We have not given up a touchdown to a tight end this year, and we have 5 interceptions against the tight end, which is kind of interesting.
That is very interesting because I feel like last year it was tight ends that were just constantly burning us. I feel like last year it was like tight ends and running backs that were just running little check down routes that we just could not get a handle on. And yeah, I mean, the defense has certainly flipped the script this year. So that's an interesting stat, man. It's definitely good to see because that's a particular area that we struggled in last year.
Hawkinson's a very good tight end. And they have Adam Thielen. They have Justin Jefferson. They also have Dalvin Cook. And I think a big issue with this defense so far has been tackling. And we have to be able to wrap up. We have to be able – and a good weakness that the Vikings have that goes in our favor is the Vikings' interior offensive line is booty cheeks. And guess who is back at practice today? Sheldon Rankins. So if Rankins can come back, and we got – Quinnen Williams, who we all know very well. If there's one quarterback in this league that I got, like when you're an immobile quarterback like Kirk Cousins is, you got to get interior pass rush because the edge pass rush, Kirk can just simply step up into the pocket and fire it. But when it's interior pass rush, he can't do that much. I mean, that's when you get him. And Kirk, and you also have to realize this though. On the contrary, the Patriots are one of the best pass rushing defenses in the league. They lead the league in sacks. They got Matthew Judon, who leads the league in sacks, and they only sacked Kirk Cousins once and hit him 4 times. So I don't know whether it's Kirk Cousins getting rid of the ball fast or the offensive line stood up for them, but the Patriots defensive line could not get to Kirk Cousins. But then you go back 2 weeks ago, the Cowboys pass rush destroyed Kirk Cousins, and that's why they shut down the Vikings 40-3. So I think the pass rush is going to be the difference maker because if you don't get pass rush, that's going to allow Justin Jefferson to do what he does because he's going to make plays. As good as Sauce Gardner is, he's not going to be able to clamp him up. He might have a couple of pass deflections or maybe a pick sauce, but there's going to be a couple plays where Justin Jefferson is going to get the better of him. And how do you get a superstar receiver out of the game, according to Joe Douglas? Pass rush.
Yeah. I think I love the way you mentioned Sheldon Rankins because I think like you said the interior, Kirk Cousins is definitely going to get the ball out fast. But like you said, the edge against a quarterback like him who likes to stand in the pocket is less effective than that interior push, which forces him out of position. So the fact that Rankins is coming back is going to be huge. We need a big game from Quinnen Williams. Obviously, the whole defensive front needs to play their part. But I like the point you made. Specifically, we need those interior, those big boys on the inside to really get after it this week, and hopefully force Kirk Cousins to make some off-schedule throws that wind up in the hands of Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, LaMarcus Joyner, who leads the team in interceptions.
Bryce Huff is on a 3-game streak of having a sack.
Bryce Huff is a monster, dude. Thank you for mentioning him.
You know that sack that Bryce Huff had against? Yes,
I saw the play. It was like 2-point-something seconds from the snap to sack.
And do you know who deserves all the credit for that sack? And the only reason why I know this is because of Brian Baldinger. Like,
I guess the guy right next to him on the inside for plugging up the guard and the tackle.
Close.
I don't know who was next to him.
So this is so awesome. I mean, this is the football stuff that gets me giddy as a football fan. And I broke this down in the film breakdown I did yesterday, and I gave Baldy all the credit in the world because I would have no idea about this. So it was a 4-man front, and CJ Mosley, he sees the center putting his helmet down, which means that they're about to snap the ball. So CJ Mosley is going to be dropping back into zone on the seam. But he, right before the ball snapped, slowly tiptoes up to the line of scrimmage, and he goes right in between. He goes right in front of the center. And what that does is the right tackle and the right guard see CJ Mosley, and they're going to think, oh, this could be a blitz. And then right when the ball snaps, CJ Mosley drops back. And if you watch the play over again, the right tackle and the right guard, their first step is inside to help the blitz, but CJ drops back, which results in Bryce Huff to be untouched. Like it was just like an IQ thing. And then you see CJ Mosley pump his fist after Bryce Huff gets the sack because he knows he was the reason for that. He's like, yes, what I just did freed up Bryce Huff. Like that's just like mastermind, like captain level, like Pro Bowl CJ Mosley just doing stuff that no one knows like he's doing. So it's like so cool that we have a guy in CJ Mosley to do those types of things.
Yeah, dude, I love it. CJ's had another huge year. Finally got that interception. That's kind of evaded him a couple times. He's had a couple of dropped ones. And
I had one against Denver.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Should have. But yeah, I mean, he's, one of the main reasons I think why this defense is playing at such a high level. He's the quarterback of the defense. He's out there making sure that everybody's in the right spot, making sure that they're aware of, the play that's coming and all the stuff that you rely on your middle linebacker to do. He does at an extremely high level. And I'm going to go find that on Baldy's Instagram because I didn't see that, but that's amazing, man. And the speed, the get off that Bryce Huff has, CJ Mosley obviously, did an awesome thing there, but that couldn't have just happened with any old edge rusher. It's also the fact that Bryce Huff has such a fast, get off the line burst rather. I was going to say quickness. I said burstness, but his burst off the line is so fast that he was just able to instantly shut it down. Let's watch though. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, here it is. So you guys can actually know what exactly I am talking about. So listen in to the GOAT.
The Jets made in their blowout win against the Bears to win 31-10. This play in the third quarter on 3rd and 3 with the Jets up 17-10 in the third quarter and the Bears run a motion from one side of the field, Chase Claypool, to the other side of the field. It goes from a 3-by-2 to a 3-by-2. All right, Mosley right here is getting everybody lined up, communication with Whitehead here. And then he just does this for just a second. He mugs the A-gap for 1 second, the ball snapped. And Bryce Huff gets a sack. And you watch Mosley, And he's more excited about that than anything else happened in the entire game. And you go, why? What did he just do? So let's watch it. Let's watch what he did. Because this is not a call. This is just Mosley being alert, smart, getting everybody lined up, just knowing the game. All right, so he goes over here. All right. He's got like some seam responsibility here. Now he just does this. Just time. He sees the center's head underneath, right? So he knows they're getting ready to snap it. And he just for one brief second steps into that A gap. Watch what they do. Watch what the Bears do. For 1 second, they honored that mug right there and a shotgun. And that's all it took for Bryce Huff to get free and to take down Simeon. And Mosley's over here just all pumped up because he made that happen. Just a heads-up play, one little trip into the A gap. That's all it took.
That's beautiful, man. I love that so much. That's just amazing. And then from that angle behind the defense, you see how fast Bryce Huff really is, just flying at Trevor Siemian. Just beautiful, man. And also a sorry-ass play by the right side of the Bears offensive line.
Terrible. It really is. And it's like mind games. Like that's what it, like that's how, like the only way the Jets, this system works by getting to the quarterback with a 4-man rush is mind games. Because if you just go straight pass rush, you're not going to get home. You got to run twists. You got to run stunts. You got to run, CJ Mosley coming in the A gap and dropping back. You got to be able to confuse things. And that is CJ Mosley, but that's also coaching, telling CJ, hey, if you see this look, go into the A gap for a couple seconds. Let's see if it can free up the edge rusher. And that's just like an example of Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive line coach, the linebackers coach. I mean, the entire coaching staff deserves credit right now with what they're doing, bro. They're doing a phenomenal job with this team. And I can not be more excited about this future and heading into this game against the Minnesota Vikings. So, guys, we're going to wrap up the stream here. We appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning into the show. The Jets got a big game this Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. I'll be live tomorrow to give you guys my deep breakdown of the Minnesota Vikings, the flight preview segment where we're really going to break down the opponent and talk about what we can expect from the Minnesota Vikings and what the Jets got to do to exploit their weaknesses and how we're going to get this freaking W. So, Jack, anything else you'd like to say before we finish off the stream?
Let's hope the boys are locked in. I know they are. And we got to go out there and play, championship level football on Sunday to get this done. And I'm very excited to see how this Jets team handles this challenge. It's going to be a huge game for all these players, obviously, for Mikey White, and once again, for Robert Sala. Can this team beat a really, really good team like the Minnesota Vikings? Can we take advantage of a bad defense with our offense? Can we stop a great offense with our defense? This is really going to be a telling game to see if this Jets team is really ready to make a push this year. So I'm very excited, very nervous, as I know we all are, but it's going to be a good one. So can't wait, man.
In a dome, too, the elements won't be a factor. So
love it.
Something to look out for. Mike White diced it up in a shitty elemental weather. Now he doesn't have to worry about that. So what can you do in the dome, baby? I'm predicting an Elijah Moore big game. 6 catches,
I'm
92
all here
yards,
for that.
and a touchdown. This will be the Elijah Moore show for the rest of the season. All right, guys. Love you guys. Let's go Jets. Catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.